American civil rights campaigner Reverend Jesse Jackson has died at the age of 84. An icon of justice, a pillar of US black activism and a towering giant of our time are just some of the tributes being paid to the two-time presidential nominee candidate. He's credited with continuing Martin Luther King Jr.'s movement for justice and for cementing that message across America.
I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I had a shovel programmed for my hand. My mother, a working woman. So many days she went to work early, with runs in her stockings. She knew better, but she rolled runs in her stockings so that my brother and I could have matching socks and not be laughed at school. I understand. At 3 o'clock on Thanksgiving Day, we couldn't eat turkey because Mama was preparing somebody else's turkey at 3 o'clock. We had to play football to entertain ourselves. And then around 6 o'clock, she would get off the Alta Vista bus, and we would bring up the leftovers and eat our turkey, leftovers, the caucus, the cranberries, around 8 o'clock at night. I really do understand. Every one of these funny labels they put on you, those of you who are watching this broadcast tonight in the projects, on the corners, I understand. Call you outcast, low down, you can't make it, you're nothing, you're from nobody, subclass, underclass. When you see Jesse Jackson, when my name goes in nomination, your name goes in nomination. I was born in the slum, but the slum was not born in me. And it wasn't born in you, and you can make it. Wherever you are tonight, you can make it. Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you are qualified, and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. On tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much.
Well, Jesse Jackson's family has released a statement saying, "It is with profound sadness that we announce the passing of civil rights leader and founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the Honourable Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. He died peacefully on Tuesday morning, surrounded by his family. His unwavering commitment to justice, equality and human rights helped shape a global movement for freedom and dignity. A tireless change agent, he elevated the voices of the voiceless from his presidential campaigns in the 1980s to mobilising millions to register to vote, an indelible mark on history." Well, Sky News presenter Trevor Phillips has given this tribute to him a short time ago.
I had met him actually the first time 4 years before that when he came to London. At that point, nobody really knew him or knew who he was, but we were making a film about him, and indeed we put out an hour-long movie or program which was exploring the impact of the civil rights movement as updated by Jesse Jackson, and that was in 1984. And I always remember, I went to pick him up at Heathrow Airport, and I drove him in to his hotel, and I'd never met him before, but he was easy to talk to, a kind of, obviously, cool guy, full of charisma and so on. But I remember I'd put on a CD of Kenny G, the saxophonist, and I always remember the remark he made. He said, "Yeah, Kenny G, that boy can blow." And I thought there are lots of things about that made me think. First of all, this was a politician who had hinterland and wasn't just lecturing you about his view. He had a life. Secondly, Kenny G at the time was pretty new, and the fact that this guy was up to speed with the latest in music was incredibly impressive. But of course, the important thing about him at that time, and it's hard for people to understand now after the years of Barack Obama and so on, was the audacity, I mean, the sheer audacity of his run for the presidency. The idea that an African American could actually have the temerity to put himself forward, and then on top of that, to really make an impact on the race, because in practice, he attracted so many votes on the Democratic side, on the left side, that he was able to determine large parts of the Democratic Party's platform. Now, they didn't win, but Jackson in 1984 and 1988 was an incredibly important influence on what the Democratic Party decided to do. And of course, when Clinton came in 1992, a large part of Clinton's policy platform was what Jackson had put forward. The second thing I think that's really important about him is, just as a politician, I mean, you've got a flavor of it listening to him there. This was a guy who understood the theater of politics spectacularly well. You can see, you know, there's all the kissing babies, and there he is with talking to people. But he actually was able to extend his political appeal across the lines of geography, across the lines of race. And this was a really striking thing at the time, that an African-American politician could be supported by people who were not of his color. Now, part of that was his extraordinary rhetorical gifts, and we get a sense of that just in the shortest of clips, but also his capacity to understand modern media. One of the iconic images of Jesse Jackson is Jackson on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel. And there we are. There he is with Martin Luther King, who was, in a sense, you know, the greatest icon of the civil rights movement. But there is a photograph which, I don't know if we have it, but it comes shortly after this. And that photograph was the photograph after Martin Luther King had been shot, slain on that balcony. And Jesse Jackson is standing over his body and pointing in the direction from which the shots came. Now, this is not an accusation of exploitation, but Jackson understood the potency of those images, and they became part of the iconography of Martin Luther King, and linked Jackson to King in a way that was really gave him a great platform, gave him the position, if you like, of the apostle carrying on the King message. So he's a remarkable fellow. And the last thing I want to say about him is that what will be his legacy? Well, people will say it's civil rights. But I think there's something bigger than that. Jesse Jackson, through the organization that he founded in Chicago, Rainbow Push, did something which no pressure group leader had ever done before. He went into corporate America, and he said to corporate America, here are my list of demands: equal pay for people of color, an influence on policy, treatment of black customers equally to white customers, consciousness that the leadership of your organization, the boards, can no longer be all white rooms. And what he said is, if you don't pay attention to these demands, we will make your life hell. We will boycott your products. We will demonstrate outside your headquarters. And he pioneered a way of pressuring corporate America, which had never really been done before. And those tactics have been adopted since by the feminist movement, by the Green movement, by others. So Jesse Jackson wasn't just, if you like, an African-American civil rights icon. He was a man who pioneered the modern methods of campaigning, of putting pressure on the big corporations and through them on government to answer the demands of people who had hitherto been unheard. So I think when we talk about Jesse Jackson, let's not limit him to being just a symbol of, if you like, black protest and so on. This was a guy who changed politics and changed the way we do politics for a generation and generations to come.